Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Abnormal Investigations on a Saturday night. Y'all probably aren't used to seeing us on a Saturday night, but seems like we've been going live just about every night. So we're going to be sneaking in tonight and doing a Saturday night live. Even going to be doing a Sunday night live tomorrow night, guys. I have fielded two investigations that I thought would be pretty important to get out to you guys. Everybody seems to really enjoy the investigations we've been getting. So a lot of people have been reaching out to us. It's good to see you, Larry Fisher. Good to see you. Glad you was able to make it tonight. Um, we got a lot of our normal people in here tonight. I don't know if I call ourselves normal, but we are part of the same family, right? The abnormal family. So it's good to see Carolyn. We got Larry there. We've got Randy moderating, Jesse C moderator, Margie Burke, I see, is in here. And Silver Bullet made it in tonight. Uh, got a lot of good people in here tonight. Y'all's going to be getting a firsthand listen to an investigation that I took. Actually done two. So we've been pretty busy. Hello, Margie Burke. Good to see you. Romans 1:16. Good to see you. Keith Blunt. Good to see you. You can always count on Keith. I always know when I put a video out that I'm going to see Keith. He's always a huge supporter in those, and we appreciate that a lot. Good to see you, Qbot 111. It's been a long time since we've got to see you. And let me throw up a few people on here if I can, if the computer will work with me. But we got a good night in store for everyone. Well, Jesse's here. Hopefully she's in a good mood tonight and none of us get publicly executed. But we're going to risk it. We're going to hop in there. And Randy's already laughing backstage. This is good. It's going to be one of those nights here on Abnormal. We're taking over the weekend, guys. We're doing Saturday and Sunday. We couldn't do Friday, but maybe one of these nights we can do a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got Abnormal moderator in here. Good to see you. So I'm going to go ahead and throw Jesse and Randy in here while we got some more opening stuff to go over with before we get to the story.
Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Good evening, Abnormal, and welcome to the show. We hope you enjoy this tonight's presentation.
Yeah, tonight's going to be it's going to be a good one, guys. I have no doubt. Whenever I fielded this, I told Jesse it was scary. It was scary just taking down the notes, listening to them tell me some of the things that they had gone through and some of the things that they are going through. It is it's a crazy world out there for sure. And there is a lot of scary things going on. I'm glad that I haven't had to witness some of the things that they've witnessed because, you know, cryptids versus some of these things that have went on in this case is really, really scary. I want to tell y'all kind of what's going to be going on for March. There's going to be a lot more in March, but this is what we have finalized right now. Saturday the 8th, starting off March, we got Chris Cyrus going to join us on the show. He's going to come on and tell us about some of his investigations, some of his encounters. I was on his show. It was a pleasure to be on his show. He's a very, very good interviewer, and he has a great channel. Go check him out. And then on the 20th, we have Amanda, the Bigfoot lady. She's going to be joining us live. And we're going to be talking about some of the things that's been coming into the museum and some of the encounters and stuff that she's hearing. So she's always got a lot of good information, a lot of different encounters. So it's going to be a pleasure to have her back on the show. We're excited always to have her. And then on the 23rd, we got Travis Carpenter coming back. And we're going to talk more in depth into the DNA project. If you don't believe in cryptids, don't miss that show because it just might change your mind. I think the evidence is there and his dad found it. And Travis is going to be presenting a lot of it. So if you don't have the book, I'd recommend ordering the book and at least catching the show. You got to do that. It is very good stuff out there.
The book is excellent. I bought it and I was reading it while I was on vacation, and I had a hard time putting it down. It's so much information, so good. I agree.
He's him and his dad both are just, I think, blessings to this field with the information they have and their ability to be able to share it. We want to keep prayers up for Lisa Ann, that she gets a complete and full healing and that she's able to feel better and come back to her normal routine. Hello, Wolf Lady. Good to see you. Been a lot of sick people. We pray for everybody that's been sick to get over this and to be able to move on. I know that I'm still battling remnants of it that's just hard to get rid of. I think Randy went through that also, didn't you, Randy?
It was rough. I don't think it was the normal flu, in my opinion.
I think we're going to be discussing that this month. We're going to be doing another Patreon video where we're going to go down the rabbit hole and we're going to discuss some things that we can't discuss here, just like we did on the last Patreon video. So if you missed it, it's in the Patreon. You don't want to miss that. It's a really good video. Randy really went down the rabbit hole. He really took us there. Randy?
The truth is there, right in front of your face, if you can just get the information to come to the light.
That's it. And Randy, if you run out of candles, just get a hold of me. I can get you some sent over there.
I'll just go get mine at the dollar store. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right.
I don't want those snakes.
I guess we'll have to send them to Jesse.
I don't know. Jenny's interested in the spider ones. Told
you. Send it to Jenny?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably arrange something. Just so a lot of people know, Boots on the Ground will be happening here very, very soon. I know a lot of y'all has been asking me, when are you going to go back out? You're going to get a Boots on the Ground very, very soon. It's not going to be long at all. Probably within a few days, we will be back out into the field. So we will be doing that. Shelly Belly, I have my Bigfoot shirt on, and he doesn't believe you exist either.
We got my daughter's been wearing her Bigfoot shirts today.
Is she?
Yeah, I was impressed.
Is she going to get Jerome to sign up for her?
Shut up.
I was hoping she would. I bet he probably would if you asked him.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
Shouldn't be so rude to him and ignore him like that.
So wrong.
You know, he is part of the family. It's not nice to leave people out like that. He said he was very happy there.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike this next encounter we're fixing to dive into, this person was not happy. Well, I don't think either party was happy with either one. I really don't think. And I think Larry is head on with what he's saying right there. I agree with him. I've been doing some research on it, and yeah, I can't say it, but I can post it up there. Now, if it was on a Patreon, we could all just imagine where we could take this show. Just imagine. Probably somewhere I wouldn't want to. I'd be saying all kinds of things. We talk about trolls all night.
Yeah.
Nasty little things, little booger eaters living under the bridges and trolling around like they do, little trolls. We know they're here tonight, but we appreciate them too. We appreciate the views. Let me switch over to our show tonight that I have on my little notebook that I write everything on, because the iPad decided not to cooperate tonight. So we're going to have to do this old school. So thank God I took notes, huh? I had everything put on the iPad to be able to put it out there tonight. And then the iPad decided, you know what? I'm going to die on you.
And for those who was, my chair is no longer squeaking, just to let y'all know.
Did you get
Did you get the
Jerome to take care of
WD
that for
40?
you?
Actually, I put WD, and that didn't work. I had to use that liquid wrench to get that to stop. Literally.
Oh,
WD 40 for a little bit, and then I went to squeaking again. I put liquid wrench on it, and it hasn't squeaked all day.
wow.
I was changing my tires on my car, and the lug bolts were so tight on my car. I was using a breaker bar, snapping extensions and sockets. So I had to run into Walmart last night, and I bought a set of impact uh, sockets and extensions, and finally got those off there today. When I broke them loose, they sounded like 22s, way too tight, way too tight. But
Hmm.
we got 2 new tires, and we will be boots on the ground very soon. Josh will be joining me with the boots on the ground, guys. He's excited, and also Josh informed me today he went and bought a new phone. So he will be ready for our next Wide Open Adventures live we're going to be having. We are kicking that channel off very, very hard, very, very heavy. You're going to see a lot of content over there, a lot more lives. And I filmed a little bit of my vehicle, some of the trouble I was having with it, so I could show you guys that life isn't always a bed of roses. Um, Randy, Jesse, is there anything that you all would like to say before we jump into tonight's encounter?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to roll.
I'm ready to get into this.
Lock,
Let's go.
cock locked and ready to rock.
Yep. Hoorah.
Randy's evil chuckle. All right, guys. Uh, Last night, I stand corrected. Sharon Guy was right. This encounter did come out of Oklahoma. The other one I done came out of Maine that we're doing tomorrow night. So you was right, Sharon. I was wrong. It does happen every century and now and then, but it happens. Um, so the name of the people that we're going to be discussing tonight in this encounter was Dean, Amy, and their 8-month-old child, Gary. He was 8 months old. I think he's like a little older now, not a lot older. Um, Whenever I was speaking to them, they told me that they were very happy. They had bought a home out in the country, and the home that they bought, they got for pretty much nothing. Okay. They bought a house that's actually where the principal used to live. The old school was tore down. So they got the property, which was mined by the coal mine, very, very cheap. She said they almost stole the property and the house. Now, the house has a history that nobody knew about. And we'll get into that toward the end of this story, what the history really is about that house. It does have a history, though, as I do one of Randy's evil laughs. It is not a good history.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it explains a lot of things. And as we go through this, I want y'all to feel free to jump in and give me your opinion as we go. Everybody likes it. You all do that, and you all can try to guess the end of what you think's happening. And maybe you can get this encounter right. Maybe if you all get this encounter right, I will send you guys a free candle if one of my co-hosts can get it. So
If Mike tries to send you a snake candle, I would not accept it.
Mm-mm.
hey, Darren. Hey, Starfire. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Sharon Guy. Good to see you guys. All right, here we go. So they found this house, and it is an old house, but the house is not in bad shape, meaning pretty much, yeah, it needs help. It needs remodeled. It needs redone, but it's not leaking. The floors are good. It's structurally sound. And hey, they got 40 acres and a home at like $20,000. I mean,
Whew,
they
that
stole
is a
this.
steal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the land alone is way worth more than that. Especially being here in Oklahoma, that makes it worth even more.
So how did they get it so cheap? Or is that you're getting into that too?
The reason they got it so cheap is because it had been dug by the coal company, so there is no mineral rights with the property because it's already been stripped of the minerals that was under the ground. Structurally, if a larger company was to buy it, since it's been already dug, you can't build on the part that was dug for like so many years. So it's really
The
no
ground was
good to
compromised.
anybody else.
Okay, got it.
Right. But it's good for like pasture land and
Hmm.
stuff like that. I mean, you can still run like cows on it and stuff like that, barns. You just don't want to build a permanent structure like a house or something. Randy, we appreciate that very much, man. Um, yeah, you wouldn't want to build anything like nice out there.
Okay.
So, all right. So here we go. One. So it all started. Their problems started one night while his wife was taking a shower. Dean said, uh, his wife was taking a shower and he decided to stay in the front room. They had just moved into the home. She said, "Hey, I'm going to go take a shower." He's like, "Fine, go take a shower. You know, I'm going to sit in here on the couch, watch a little TV. I'm going to wait for you to get done and then we'll go to bed." So Amy says that while she's taking the shower, she feels a cold draft blow across her. Now, in the bedroom, there is no, or in the bedroom, in the bathroom, there is no, there's no window. Okay. So she's thinking, why is there a draft in the bathroom? So she says, I figured probably what had happened was Dean had to come in there and probably get something, or it was just cold air blowing through. I really didn't
Mm,
pay much attention to it. Being in a new home, I wasn't familiar with it and thought this may be one of the things we need to fix in the upgrade, right? So she takes her shower. She takes a hot shower. She says, I always take a hot shower. She says, so whenever I get out, everything's usually steamed over and the mirrors and stuff are steamed over. So whenever she gets out of the shower, she starts to towel off and she notices on this large mirror, she says it's in her bathroom, that something has wrote in the steam.
hmm.
The writing in the steam, this is what it said: water can't save you. That was written in the steam.
Okay.
It freaked her out, so she ends up hollering at her husband to come in there. And Dean says he goes in there, and he said, sure enough, written on the mirror, and they both said that it was such pretty writing that it looked like a woman had wrote it because it was very nice handwriting. And it said, water can't save you. And he said, one of the things he said I done that a lot of people do, he said that I think they make mistakes, is he said, we made excuses for a lot of the things that were happening. And he said, that's one of the mistakes we made. And that's one of the mistakes that they don't want the audience to make, is to, when things start happening, don't make mistake or excuses and just try to blow it off, that you should take it seriously.
Hmm.
And she said, I know, I want to go ahead and put this out too. She said, I know that people in your audience are going to get mad at me because of some of the decisions we made by not interacting or doing the right thing because we made excuses. So she knows a lot of people is going to be mad at her tonight after the show. But she assures everybody they have done the right thing. So before you get too mad at her, wait till the end because you'll see that it's probably not as bad. Anyways, after that had happened, uh, she said we knew that our
Question,
son didn't do it.
Mike,
Sure.
is anybody else getting any lag? I can't hear. I'm hearing every other word. Is anybody else getting any lag,
No,
or
I
is it just
can.
on my end?
It might be just on your end. I can hear.
I'm not hearing. Okay, so
Yeah,
it must be
yeah,
my.
because you're
I've got bad cell phone service tonight.
yeah, because you're
Okay.
breaking
My
up.
cell phone evidently copy that.
So everybody can, y'all can hear me, right?
Yes. Oh,
Uh oh.
okay.
He'll be back.
Hmm.
So they noticed that the writing on the mirror, and Dean said, we knew that our son didn't do it because he's only 8 months old. So the excuse that they came up with was it was probably written there before we moved in, and because of the steam that you got on the mirror, we was able to read it again. Because he says a lot of times if there's been something written on a mirror, it steams over, you'll be able to read it again. So they thought it was probably from a person that had previously lived in the home. So they blew it off as such.
And this is right after they moved in, like the first
Uh,
time.
yeah, like within the first week.
Okay.
And they said they was still trying to get, used to living in the home. So they wasn't sure if maybe it was natural or because she said it is an old home. The windows are the old wooden windows that slide up and down, So they had a lot of things that they wanted to do to fix the house. Okay. So hopefully Randy makes it back. Um, this is where I think they started realizing things are things are off. Okay. Amy says she was dead asleep one night in their bedroom. Everybody had fallen asleep. And
Hmm.
I'll take questions after I do this part for everybody too, because I know there's probably a lot of people going to have some questions and some statements. I'm trying to watch my notebook and look back and forth. Amy said, I woke up during the middle of the night and I heard what sounded like a fight in the front room. She said it sounded like somebody was fighting in the front room and everything we owned was getting broke. So she said she really started to panic because she thought somebody had already broken into their home. Somebody's fighting in the front room. Oh my God, the baby is in the other room who's in our house. So she wakes up Dean. Dean says, she wakes me up. Amy wakes me up and says that there is somebody fighting in our front room, or at least somebody has broke in, maybe breaking our things. The first thought he said that I had was they probably thought since this house had sat here for so long that we had not completely moved in and they had broke in to vandalize. So he
Hmm.
says, I grabbed my pistol off the headboard and I rushed to the front room to find out what was going on. He says, I carry a Surefire flashlight, which is a very bright flashlight. He said, I ran into the front room and I immediately lit up the front room with the Surefire flashlight, expecting to see somebody in the front room. Whenever he'd done this, there was nobody there, but the coffee table was turned over on its side, and one of the whatnots that was on it was still kind of spinning in the floor.
Okay.
So he says, I had a really eerie feeling go all through my body. I felt like I was being watched. Somebody was in the house. I'm missing somebody. Where are they at? Are they in the baby's room? So he rushes to the baby's room, checks the baby. Nobody's in there. He goes and gets Amy up out of bed, ends up giving her the pistol, and he grabs a little shotgun they have in the house, and they proceed to check the house. The doors and windows are all secured. They turned on the front room light and they sat in the front room trying to figure out what the hell was going on. They had no idea what was going on. Why was this happening? Why was they hearing something in the front room, because he knew that it had just happened, because whenever he had walked into the front room, the whatnot that was laying on the ground, the whatnot was still moving. So they knew something had just happened.
Right.
I think we got a little bit of a feedback.
Yeah. We can hear the lag, Randy.
Is that better?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that better?
I think you got it now.
Can y'all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a lot clearer than you was. So they sat down in the front room, and they're trying to figure out what in the hell is going on. The only thing they could come up with was maybe somebody had an extra key to the house. Maybe somebody had been staying there, when they weren't supposed to. All kinds of thoughts went through their minds. So they decided that night they were going to take Gary to the bedroom with them. He was going to sleep with them. The next day, they would get up, go to town, and buy new locks for all the doors. That way they would be the only ones that would have the key. Because they're thinking somebody came into the home that shouldn't have while they were asleep.
Right.
So they go the next day, she said. They buy all brand new locks. They buy bolt locks, everything. Everything's brand new. And Dean replaced everything in the house to make sure they knew they were the only ones that had access to the house. So I'll stop there, and I'll take any questions, and I'll let you and Randy give your opinions so far as to what you think is happening. And I'll catch up with my notes to make sure I don't miss anything, because I had this on a computer, so I'm doing all this from notes.
Well, I do have to say, I can't blame them for trying to rationalize some of that stuff, because, again, rather safe than sorry. You want to make sure that you are looking at every other possible explanation before jumping to a conclusion of it being something paranormal or demonic or cryptid or anything else. So I guess, like, I don't blame them for thinking the way that they were thinking in that process. The mirror situation is a little bit different, but with the stuff crashing around and trying to rationalize that, I don't blame them. I could kind of see that.
You have any thoughts, Randy, on or any opinions so far as to what you think's going on?
Sounds demonic. I mean,
Randy's thinking demonic.
if there's somebody not coming into the house and doing it, if it's not a person, then it's something else. So I
But he
would
hasn't
need
gotten there yet.
Well,
He
when
hasn't gotten.
something visits you in the shower, the cold, I've had experiences with colds like that. And usually when you feel cold like that, I've seen summertime in an unair conditioned house and something enters the room with you and literally frost starts coming out of your breath. I've witnessed stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's why I say the mirror issue, that was a little bit on the creepy side, and I don't think I would have necessarily brushed that off. But I could kind of understand them trying to rationalize maybe it was somebody that had come into the home and then left when they heard him coming down the stairs or going through the rooms or something.
Of course, because what else are you going to think? Because we're taught not to believe in that kind of stuff. If you believe in the supernatural and spiritual stuff, you're crazy. I mean, I heard that growing up all my life, and you still
Yeah.
hear it today. It's
Yeah.
brainwashing technique, in my opinion. How do you get them to believe a lie? You got to make them not trust or believe the truth. That's why they relabeled everything.
Right.
Legends, mythology, myth. Again, this is just my opinion, guys.
No, I agree.
All right. Here we go. So Amy stated to me on the phone, she says, I had never felt unsafe in that home for that week until that night had happened. She said, I decided that night, while my husband was going to take his shower, that I was going to sit on the front room couch, watch TV, and wait for him to take a shower. And I didn't want to put Gary in his bed. I was having issues with leaving Gary alone in the home. But she said, I was also raised very strict that the children, all the way from babies being born up, had their own room. So she said, I was split between my feelings of, am I doing the right thing or the bad thing? You know, am I spoiling him? So she says, I'm sitting on the couch and I have Gary laying on the couch beside me. He's asleep. She says, I'm watching TV. Dean goes in and starts taking his shower. While Dean is taking his shower, she says, I laid my head back on the couch and I must have napped a little bit. But while I was asleep, I heard a woman singing a nursery rhyme to Gary.
Mm.
She said, I woke up from the sleep and there was nothing in there. Nothing was disturbed or anything, except there was water on Gary's forehead and in his hair.
Hmm.
She said, I knew that it was not Dean because I still heard the shower running and knew that he was still in the shower. So he's still taking the shower. She says, then all of a sudden, back down the hallway toward our bedrooms, I hear what sounds like a preacher preaching as loud as he can, almost to the point to where they're very excited, almost to where they're screaming. She said he's like very, very, very loud, and he is yelling, get out of her. And she says, at this point, I am like, oh my God, the TV in our bedroom has kicked on. He has set the alarm again. It's going to wake Gary up. So she says, I go down the hallway to go turn off our TV. She goes into the bedroom. The TV's off. But she notices when she comes out of their bedroom that Gary's door is shut. And they never shut the baby's door. Never.
Hmm.
The baby's door is always left opened. But now the baby's door is shut. They heard like a preacher screaming. There's no TV on. And there's water going from the bathroom to Gary's room, where the door is now shut. Okay?
Okay.
So, thank you very much, Abnormal Moderator. God bless you for that. So she says, I wait for Dean to get out of the shower. So Dean gets out of the shower. She says, I start explaining to him what had happened. And she said he's looking at me kind of like I'm crazy. And he's like, you know, these old houses have drafts in them that can shut doors, right? It was probably just a draft in the house that slammed the door. He said that happens all the time. Yet they're making another excuse, something they said that they know they should not have done at the end of this encounter, but they didn't know it now. But they're saying, you know, hey, it could have been a draft. And I have had doors do that. I'm not going to say I haven't. That does happen.
Right,
So
but then
she
how do you
said,
explain
after,
the water? How did they explain the
well,
water off?
she told him about the water, and
Mm-hmm.
his answer to her about the water was, this house has sat here for a long time. Maybe there's some leaks in it. Maybe there's some old plumbing in it that needs to be fixed. And he's thinking that whenever he was taking the shower was his excuse. Because I asked him, I said, how'd you think the water was getting in there? He said what he thinks happened is in that old house in the bathroom, there's a vent to make sure the toilet flushes that vents the restroom. All bathrooms pretty much have to be vented for the toilet to flush to be able to work.
Right.
He's thinking that because he was taking the shower, that maybe that steam was going up the vent and there was maybe the pipe was bad in the attic and then the water was dripping. He's thinking, you know, this old place needs some help. You know, I mean, it's an old place. It's not a real nice place, but it needs work. So again, they're giving excuses for things that are happening, trying to calm themselves. And she tells him, she says, But Dean, yeah, the water scares me and it's really weird. But she said the water didn't really bother her that much. She wasn't really concerned with the water, right? She said what she was concerned about was the fact that the door was shut. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
OCSC. They're not yet. No Indians. That's what I thought too. So the water really didn't scare her. So she tells Dean, we need to open Gary's room because I heard a man screaming, get out of her, really loud, like he was very angry, very excited. He was very emotional. And she said, it scared the hell out of me. So they go to Gary's room, walk up to his door, go to open his door, and Gary's door is locked. She
Okay.
said, we had never locked Gary's door. That's just something we don't do. We never even shut his door. So Dean goes to the kitchen and he gets a butter knife to jimmy the door because these are old doors, should be easy to jimmy. She said, he's got the butter knife. He's sticking it in the door, trying to pop the door open. He's working on the door. And she says, I'm standing behind him and I'm half scared to death. And I'm watching him trying to open this door, just wondering, what's on the other side of this door? Is there going to be a man in there? Is there going to be somebody in there? And she says, at the bottom of the door, because Gary has a nightlight in his room, a shadow goes across the bottom of the crack of the door like something walks past it. Just as that happens, Dean pops the door open, has his hand on the door, goes to push it open, and something slams the door back like it pushed against him. And then he pushes the door open even harder, and there's nothing in there. So they start looking around the room and the closet and everything. The room is completely empty. The window's locked. Nothing's in there except for in the middle of Gary's bed, it is sopping wet.
Hmm.
Did they check under the bed to make sure nothing was underneath?
She said they
Oh,
checked.
one other question.
Uh huh.
Are there any large teddy bears lying around anywhere for something large to hide in before we continue?
Nope. She said there was
Okay.
nothing in there. Nothing.
I had to ask.
Dean actually got so scared, she said, that she had never seen him this scared before, that he actually had to sit down in the hallway and have her run to the bathroom and get him a cold wash rag because he was about to pass out. He was having a full pledged panic attack and has never had a panic attack once in his life. No, Amber, the ceiling wasn't damp. Sharon says it's all about the water. So
Um,
let me finish this before you go, because you're probably going to want to hear this before you make your statement. There's the weird part. They get him to feeling better. They get up. They start their way to the front room. They get to the front room. Gary's no longer laying on the couch. Gary's gone. So they start
What do
looking
you
for the
mean?
baby. The baby's not laying on the couch where she left him asleep. 8-month-old baby. He crawls. He's I guess a toddler almost. He crawls, learning to walk. She said she freaks out and they start looking everywhere for the baby. And they look across the front room. And over in Dean's recliner, Gary is sleeping all tucked in his recliner.
hmm. That's peculiar.
Barbie says she's seen a lot of UFOs in Michigan. That's interesting too. If y'all have any stories or encounters you'd like to share with me, I'd love to hear them, guys. I've been fielding a lot of them. So, what are y'all's take on this right now? What do you think's going on?
Um, I don't know yet. I reserve to hold, but
No,
um, Romans did have a question. He wanted to know how far away the home was from any body of water.
quite a ways. I asked her if they live by a river or the lake, and she said they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Uh,
there's no not even a pond. I asked her if there was a pond, and she said no. There's nothing around them.
huh.
Yes, Amber,
Okay.
very scary with the baby involved. That's always scary. So the baby is over in the recliner sleeping. How it got there, nobody knows. But the baby's not harmed. The baby's laying there asleep. So Amy says, I said, maybe during the commotion of us back there trying to jimmy the door and Dean getting sick and everything, maybe he crawled over there to the chair because she said he can crawl around really good and pull up and stuff. So maybe he just noticed she wasn't there, woke up and, you know, explored. That was her trying to make sense of the situation. And to let everybody know, this is a younger couple, their first home. So it's not like they have a lot of experience, you know, out on their own. I mean, the first marriage, they're learning life. I mean, they're young. They're kids to me when I talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they understand their mistakes. Uh, okay, moving on. She says so. Dean had took his shower. So I told Dean, "Can Gary sleep by us tonight? I don't want to leave Gary by himself in his bedroom until we can go to Walmart and buy a baby monitor. I just feel it would be better to be able to monitor him in his bedroom." She
Right.
said, "Of course, Dean has always spoiled me, and he said whatever I wanted was fine with him." So she said,
As
"I
it should
told
be.
Dean, well, he'll learn." So she says, so she says, he goes to the bedroom, takes Gary with him. She goes to take a shower, right? So she's taking a shower, and while she's taking the shower, Dean says, he's in the bedroom with Gary. He's got Gary laying in the bed. He turned on the TV. They're watching TV until Amy gets out of the shower. And he said, "I'll admit, I left the hallway light on and I left the bedroom light on because I was afraid to be alone. I was a little
Mm-hmm.
freaked out." And I said, "I understand. I would be freaked out at this point also." So he
Right.
says he was laying in bed watching TV. Gary's fell asleep and he's watching TV. Amy says while she was in the shower, she felt the cold air again in the bathroom. She said, "Again, I thought it was probably just a cold draft in this old house." So I tried to brush it off. I had shampoo in my hair, and I just started to rinse my hair and had shampoo in my face and rinsing my hair. While I was doing so, I felt what felt like a woman ran both of her hands down the back of my neck and back with fingernails, not hard, but like when somebody does when they try to tickle you or to give you goosebumps, and went down my side. She said, "I screamed and jumped back and turned looking to see somebody, and there was nobody there." She said, "I was totally freaked out." Now, while this is happening, these two events happen at the same time, okay? So, Dean, while this is happening to her, he's laying in the bedroom with Gary watching TV. Dean says while he's watching TV out of the corner of his eye, he sees Amy walk up to the door with her hair soaking wet, looks in the door at him, and then she just like walks off. And he's like, "What is she doing?" So he gets up out of the bed, goes to see what she's doing. And he says he about falls down in the water in the hallway, and he still hears the shower running. So he goes to the bathroom. The water trail goes to the bathroom, opens the door. Amy is just stepping out of the shower. She hadn't even been out of the shower. That wasn't even her looking in the door at him.
A doppelganger?
He asked her, he said, "What is going on?" And she says, "What do you mean?" And I asked Gary, I said, "So are you saying what you seen standing at the door looked like Amy? Was it Amy?" And he said, "I can't say it was her now because I saw it out of the corner of my eye. And I just noticed it looked like a woman that had just got out of the shower. So no," he said, "I can't say that it looked like her, but it was definitely a woman that had long wet hair." While they're sitting in the bathroom trying to figure all this out, they hear this. And then, boom, the bedroom door slams
Doors.
shut with Gary in it. So they go running down to the bedroom door. It's locked. Gary's in there now with the door locked. So he says, instead of running to get the kitchen knife, I grab it one last time, turn it hard as I can. He said, "I want to bust the door down." And the door unlocks and opens. Nobody's in there. Gary's asleep. Nothing's been moved. So
Okay.
they're sitting in there and they're talking about it. And again, they start trying to come up with excuses as to what may have happened. And Amy says, "Well, what happened to me in the shower was probably the shower curtain stuck to my back or something. And I thought somebody had touched me because we're on edge. We're afraid to be in this house. None of us even want to be alone in a room by ourselves. You know, we don't leave our baby alone." She said, "We have never lived in fear like this. So this is all brand new to us. And maybe he's watching the TV and he thought he saw me." She's like, "We got to get our lives together. We got to stop living like this." She said, "Because we're just totally acting mad. We're being crazy." You know, you could tell she's upset with herself. She's like, "You cannot live like this. You cannot act like this. This is not how people live. You don't live in
Hmm.
fear in your own home. You know, we've got to get things straightened out. We got to get things together. We got to sleep. We have to go to work. We can't be tired all the time because we're afraid to be in our home. Our home should be our sanctuary. This is where we should be." So
Hmm.
they start talking about that. And they decide they're going to put Gary back in his room and go to bed. Y'all want to say anything before we go on? Is anybody in the chat got anything you'd like to say? I'll post it up if you do. I can now see chat. I'd like to involve everybody in this encounter so everybody feels like they have a say.
Well, I would just say I probably at that point would not have put the baby in the separate room. Because for them to, yeah, at this point, for them to keep coming up with excuses, that's little far fetched. Yeah, Marianne, keep the baby with you. I agree.
And you got to remember, they were raised that they don't believe in ghosts and such too. They were kind of like
Yeah,
what
but
Randy said earlier. They're the ones that they don't exist. If you believe they exist, then there's something wrong with you.
yeah, but then you got to question like, what are you seeing? What is going on? And there must be somebody in the house then.
This is why some people go absolutely insane when they're dealing with this because there's no outlet for help.
Hmm. Yeah.
Who are they going to go to? The local preacher? I had somebody who was getting dragged out of his bed, him and his children getting scratched and terrorized by demons in the local churches all across the U.S. None of them would pick up the call. They hung up on me
Well, I
trying to
believe
get
it.
help.
I was told by our pastor growing up that yeah, ghosts, spirits, and those demons, and they don't. Other words exist. They didn't believe in anything like exorcisms or possessions or anything like that.
but yet they'll preach hellfire and exorcisms all day long. But when it comes down to somebody really needing help, you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And then what are we
Not
supposed to do?
all, not all, but the majority of them, yeah.
Right. Like what Barbie B said, if that was happening to her baby, she'd have been going crazy. She says, my family weren't believers. My ex thought I was a witch because of the paranormal events happening around me and before me. He didn't believe any of it. And that is a problem, is because whenever you come out and you start telling people about these things going on, it's like you're the one getting attacked now. You're the one that's got issues. You're the one that's the witch. You're the bad person. You must have done something bad for this to be happening to you. You're losing your mind. You need to be put on medication. You need to take a pill. You need to go to sleep and just leave everybody alone and quit driving us nuts with your anxiety, your paranoia, and leave everybody alone, because now you're becoming a nuisance.
Right. Exactly.
And demons feed on that.
Exactly. Society wants you to shut up, not say anything about all the weird shit going on, and just ignore it like it doesn't exist. Nobody wants to hear about it if they don't believe it. If they think if they don't, because they don't believe in it, it's not real. That's not how it works. There are things out there that are real that we cannot see, feel, or touch. But some of the spiritual realm is probably more real than the realm that we live in. We only see a
Oh, yeah.
third of what we can see of what's really out there. There's 2/3 of the spectrum, the visual spectrum, that our eyes cannot see in. So how can we
Yeah.
claim to say that there's nothing else out there because we can't see it? I
Very
think that's
true.
stupidity, if that's what people believe.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of the people think also is out of sight, out of mind. If they don't listen to somebody that's seeing these things and they don't pay attention to it, then it's not happening. It's easier not to have to address the problem, but hide the problem. And if somebody keeps bringing you that problem, then you take them to a medical health care person and you give them a pill and you tell them they have a problem. And then the pill is supposed to take care of everything. And then these people, the pill doesn't cure everything. The pill is not a cure all, but what the pill does do is it makes the
Band-Aid.
person believe that they are the problem, they are the issue. There's something wrong with them, and I can't talk to nobody because I'm driving people nuts, and I don't want to make people mad at me. So I'll just live with what's happening to me, and then we hope that someday they don't get either so fed up with it that they unalive themselves, or they become possessed by the entity.
Hmm. Yes.
You're
Very true.
absolutely right, Mike.
It's sad, and this is for informational purposes only. Just putting that out
Oh,
there.
one thing I'd like to say,
Entertainment only.
Mike, Mike, I'd like to say
Uh-huh.
one other thing. I
Sure.
can fix a lot of things, but stupid people isn't one of those things that I can fix.
I can't fix stupid.
Trust me, we've tried.
I have too, and it didn't work.
Right. August says, I've woken up with demons standing beside the bed. I'd rebuke them in the name of Jesus and they would leave. But they would come back until I started rebuking and binding them in the name of Jesus. Yep. I agree completely. I mean, yeah, that's what works.
Hmm.
And like what Randy said, you have to have the faith and you have to have the courage to be able to do it. Because if you face these things without the faith and the courage that you need, you may be the one that doesn't survive that altercation.
Hmm.
And there's proof in the Bible, the Holy Bible. There are the saints. The Jesus sent them out, not the saints, but his disciples sent them out to cure, cast out demons, heal the sick. And there's this one guy who was possessed that they got their butts whooped, and Jesus himself had to go do it because they couldn't, because they didn't have strong enough faith. You're absolutely right about that. You have to believe the word of God is truth. You have to have a foundation of truth in order to rebuke these things. You have to believe in Christ, died on the cross to
Right, because
redeem
what
us
was it?
from hell.
The demons even told that guy, they said, "We know Jesus, but we don't know you."
Exactly. You're exactly right.
You know,
They got their asses beat. I'm
they
sure they
did.
were black and blue all over. Those demons are supernaturally strong, and you've seen some of what they can do in Hollywood from the movies. Their
Well,
supernatural strength is no joke.
and on a side note, I've listened to other podcasters that have discussed with people that have worked with exorcisms, and they said, those movies, they might look like Hollywood movies and something totally crazy and insane, but those are pretty much they're spot on. Spot on.
Look at Poltergeist when they done the water scene. They couldn't afford fake skeletons to do it, so they used real cadaver skeletons.
And you don't think that didn't open some doors?
They
Oh
use
man,
real cadaver skeletons at the Pirates of the Caribbean thing in Disney World too. But anyways, I
So
digress.
yeah, we
sounds
don't
like
want
a
to go down that
Patreon
rabbit
show.
hole. Yeah, down the
Sounds like a
rabbit hole with
Patreon show
Mike.
on Patreon. All right, guys, going back to the story.
Let's go.
They decided that they was going to let Gary sleep with them.
Okay,
So
good.
while Gary is sleeping with them this one particular night, Amy is woken up to what sounds like a woman laughing hysterically in the other bedroom, and it sounds like the woman is crying and laughing at the same time. Pink Pixie, I'm going to have you get with Jesse however you all can, and we'll work on getting you a wrench. She'll explain to you kind of what we expect and how we do it. So, Pink
Oh,
Pixie, we will get you a wrench. We will
she's
get
in
you
the
a wrench.
hospital. I hope everything is okay.
Yeah, we will keep you in our prayers too.
She's here.
Uh,
She's just from the hospital. She just is from the hospital. She's saying
here.
hello.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
You're with them.
Yeah. Well, we hope
She's
that
from
you're
the
good.
hospital.
okay.
We definitely keep you in
We'll
our
keep you in our
prayers
prayers. We love you. We pray that you make a quick recovery.
for sure. But she hears a lady laughing hysterically, and it's like she's laughing and crying at the same time. Okay. So they're like, what in the world is going on? So this is the part I don't get. She says, I wait for her to stop laughing, and I'm so tired and I'm so exhausted from the nights before that I fall back asleep. Okay. So now they're all asleep again. She's exhausted. She's fell back asleep. So Dean says, while he was laying there, and this is going to get a lot of people, guys, but he said while he was laying there, he felt Amy roll over next to his back. And whenever she rolls over next to his back, he feels her start to rub her hands on his back, using her fingernails lightly, scratching his back. And she starts kissing his neck and kissing down his back. So then he thinks, okay, Amy's been affectionate, you know. He's like, okay. So as he's laying there, he said when she runs her fingernails down his side, it tickled, so he jerked. Whenever he jerked, Amy said, hold still, bitch. He said, she has never cussed at me. We have never even been in a fight. And all of a sudden, and he said it was like a very serious, deep, I'm mad, hold still, bitch. And he said, I rolled over to confront her because of how she was talking to me and the way she was acting, because she dug her claws in the side of my side when she said it, and it made him mad. And he said, whenever I rolled over to confront her, there's nobody in the bed. It's
Well,
early
that's a big
morning.
no.
It's early morning. He's in bed alone. So he gets
Very
up.
good guess. And
Well, he got up. There's water in the floor again, and the water leads to the bathroom. He follows the water to the bathroom. There's nobody in the bathroom. So he starts searching the house, right? He's looking to try to find Amy and Gary. He opens the front door, looks outside. Amy is sitting there in her chair that she has out on the front porch reading her book. Gary's in his little rocker deal swinging, and everything is fine. Except he's got, here's the weird part, 6 fingernail scratches on his side. Not 5, 6.
I think that probably means it wasn't human. My guess.
Yeah.
Yep. So they go back to the bedroom because he explains to her what happened. And she says, we got to go check and make sure there's nobody in the house. Because she says at this point, I'm still thinking there's somebody in the house. And now she's thinking somebody might be trying to abduct Gary. She thinks now somebody's trying to steal our baby. That's what it is. Somebody's trying to steal our baby. They go back to the bedroom, laying back behind where Dean would have been laying, where the lady Amy he thought was actually Amy was laying. The bed is soaked in water, but there's nobody there. Ain't nobody in there. So Gary decides it's time, or not Gary, Dean decides it's time to go up into the attic and to find out what's going on with this old house. So Dean goes and goes up into the attic. He's got his flashlight. He's looking around, and he notices that some of the pipes are rusty. Some of them do leak. Some of them are, old, need to be replaced. They're not PVC. They're the old metal pipes, and, it all needs to be replaced. Right above the bed is where the hot water tank comes into the house, the pipes, and there was a leak. So they figure that that's where the water's coming from, that they need to get all that replaced. So he comes down out of the attic, and she said that gives them somewhat a sense of relief now. They're like, okay, now we kind of have an answer. We know they're leaking. We have saw it with our own eyes. We know that there is water leaks. So they start pretty much trying to play it off that way. So go ahead.
No.
Okay. So the next, few nights later, and this is where Amy says it gets really weird for her, because Amy is a really nice person. And if you heard her on the phone, she's very, you can tell she's shy, maybe real soft spoken. She says, 3 or 4 nights later, Gary had been sleeping in his room, and she decided that she was going to go take a shower to relax. She said, for some reason, I was in a bad mood. She said, I'm never in a bad mood. She said, I felt really angry that night. Like everything was setting her off. Like anybody doing anything. Or she said, I would see Dean was eating, for instance. And she said, and I was like, why is he putting so much ketchup, on his French fries? It was just like anything was making her mad. And she said, I'm never like that. I'm never angry like that. But I was in this terrible, pissed off mood that everything was making me mad. And she said, I'm not that type of person. So she gets out of the shower. They go put the baby to bed, and then she goes to bed. About 30 minutes later, Gary starts to cry. So she gets up and goes to check on Gary because she's off the next day and Dean has to work. So she goes in, rocks the baby. There's a rocking chair in his bedroom. She rocks the baby back to sleep, puts him back in his bed, and she goes back to bed. Whenever she gets halfway back into the bedroom, Gary starts to cry as soon as she gets into the bed. So she goes back to the bedroom. Gary's in there sitting up in his crib, crying his little eyes out, screaming to the top of his lungs. So she takes him out of the bed and she starts to rock him. And while she's rocking him, he goes right back to sleep. You know, mommy's got me. She said he's all comfortable and happy. And she said he goes to sleep, and I lay him back in the bed, and I go back to the bedroom. As soon as I get in bed and lay down and get warm, he starts to cry again. She said, so I get back up, back to the bedroom, rocking back to sleep, same old thing. I get back to the bedroom again, lay down, just start to get warm. She said, he cries again. And she said, I don't know why I done this, but she said, whenever I walked into Gary's room that last time, she said, I yelled at him, what the F is wrong with you? And she said, I don't ever use that word. She said, I hate that word. But she said, I was so infuriated at him, like I was just so mad at him. She said, so I screamed at him. And she said, it just scared him. She said, he shook all over. He wasn't used to that. She said, we're not those kind of people. And she said, and I jerked him out of his bed and like rocked him really like she was angry, like rocked him angry. And she laid him in bed. She said when he went back to sleep, and she went back to bed, and she noticed when she got back to bed that Gary was awake, but he wasn't crying no more. He was sitting up in his bed. He wasn't even crying no more. And he laid down and went back to sleep. Okay, so while they were doing that, she said it was about a couple of hours later, Gary starts to cry again. She said, I wake up. I'm in just as bad of a mood as I was when I went to bed. So I get up and I start walking to his bedroom. And she said, the closer I get to his bedroom, the madder I'm getting. She said, I walk into his bedroom and I yell at him, what in the hell is wrong with you? And she said, I no more get that out of my mouth. And I turn around and Dean is standing behind me with this pissed off look at me, like, why are you yelling at the baby? And she said, I grab the baby, I rock him to sleep. Dean stays in the bedroom, she said. And she said, he's looking at me like Dean, she said, wants to come over and punch me right in the face. She said, he is so pissed off at me. And she said, we've never been this way with each other. You know, they're newlyweds, they're head over heels in love. They got their first house, they're remodeling. Everything was supposed to be going good. So they go back to their bedroom. They go and they lay down. And all of a sudden, Dean gets up out of the bed. So she said, I got up on my side of the bed. And he real, like, agitatedly asked me, why in the hell are you yelling at the baby? And she said, he walked around over by me and we were talking. And I looked at him, she said, and I told him, and I won't say that word on here, but she said, I told him, F you. And she said, I don't ever use that word. And she said, I turned my back to him. And she said, whenever I turned my back to him, he shoved me in the back so hard that she said, I hit the floor face first. I almost hit my head on the corner of the end table that sits there. She said, which could have killed me. She said, because it's solid oak. And she said, it rug burned me from hitting the ground. She said, it was like a super hard shove. And she said, I jumped up and grabbed the phone, and I was going to call my mom and tell her that Dean had just put hands on me and he had just hurt me, until she said, I noticed that he was way on the other side of the bed and could not even have touched me from where he was at. And she said, he is staring at me with this white blank face, like he just witnessed something he does not know how to explain. Something had just shoved her down. So Dean believes that she tripped because she was angry. He's like, you had to have tripped. And she's
Wasn't she
like,
laying on the
did
bed?
you? No, they got up. They got out of bed.
Oh,
He
okay.
got up he got up, and then she got up because they got into
Oh,
this
and then
argument.
okay, and then oh,
So
okay, she thinks he shoved her.
she's thinking that he shoved her, and she's like, why would you shove me like that? And he's like, look where I'm at. And she's like, he was right. She's like, there was no way I could have shoved him. It would have been impossible. So he's thinking that she tripped. She was thinking that he shoved her, right? So they decide what we need to do is go get Gary. He's the love of our life. He's what holds our family together. Let's put him in between us tonight and let's all go to sleep and have a peaceful night. So they go get Gary, they bring him to their bed, and they put him in between them, and they all go to sleep. He said they laid there for a little bit and they visited, laughing, reminiscing, having a good time, talking about their future plans, how happy they were going to be, everything they were going to do, right? It was going to be a really good life, a great life. They fell asleep while they were doing that. Okay, while they were asleep, Amy says, and now these two events that are happening right now are going to coincide, okay? So Amy says what happened was they had fell asleep and Amy wakes up. She like, how you wake up when you didn't expect to go to sleep. She said, I was kind of like startled. I woke up. I opened my eyes. And she said, whenever I opened my eyes, I felt two cold hands go around my neck. Something was choking me. She said my body felt like it was 5 tons, like my body weighed so much. She said I could not move. I was frozen. She said
Mm-hmm.
I could think, I could hear, I could see, but I couldn't move. And I could feel this woman on top of me, choking me with her wet hair dangling in my face. But all I could see was this dark shadow. But she said I could feel the cold, wet hair in my face while she's choking me. And I can feel her fingernails and I can't breathe. And I'm thinking I'm going to pass out at any moment and I can't shake Dean to get help. I'm just frozen and she's killing me. That's what she said. She's killing me. I am laying there and I am being choked to death in my own bed beside my family, and there's nothing that I can do. So she says, I'm doing everything I can to try to get awake. And then Dean says, at that time, I felt her moving her legs and I heard her struggling to breathe. So I rolled over and I shook her to wake her up. And he said, whenever I shook her, she came to, trying to catch her breath. He said she had foam all over her mouth, like she was actually foaming, and was struggling to catch her breath. And finally, he said, she starts to breathe. And it's like she has like bronchitis, he said. It's terrible sounding wheezing. He jumps up, runs over to the light switch, turns on the light. She's trying to talk. She can't talk because she's actually been physically choked. So her
Right.
voice is crackly. She's trying to be able to talk, trying to be able to breathe. He runs over to look at her, and she's got scratch marks on both sides of her neck, and one of them so bad that it's even bleeding a little bit.
I think it's time to leave and not go back. I'm serious. I mean, my gosh, how that'd be enough to me for me. Even if I was skeptical after all that, but the claws that you can't freaking overlook that crap and explain that away. It's time to leave or take drastic action.
Yeah, it sounds like the demonic oppression in the house is it's just getting stronger and stronger, and it's feeding off of them. So it's feeding off of their negative energy, but at the same time it's draining them of any positive energy they have altogether. And my honest guess is that whatever was in this house was agitating the baby because it knew that it was going to get her going every night, getting her angry, and it could again feed on that. It Yeah. I have a feeling this is gonna get worse before it has any type of turnaround. Am I wrong?
Now, I do have something I'd like to say about the water. Do we know how wet was the bed? Was it completely drenched all the way through, or just do we know anything about it? I forgot to ask that
The
earlier.
way the way they compared it was as if somebody had spilled their drink in the bed.
Okay. The
Not
water.
nec-
Now, for me, go ahead, Jess.
No, go ahead.
To me, the water is linked to a water spirit. Water spirits are linked to mermaids and stuff from the ocean. And that's probably another rabbit hole. But that's my guess that you're dealing with a water spirit based on the information that I've seen and heard you say so far.
I have a and I'm sure you'll probably get to it, but I have a possible idea of something too that I would be questioning. But I guess I will wait until the end because
Oh, go ahead.
you
Go
said,
ahead.
well,
Let's see.
see
This
if
will be
I'm even
good.
close. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so my next theory would be to find out if there had been a murder in the house, and my first assumption would be it would most likely have been a young mother with postpartum depression who possibly drowned herself and her children or something of that sort. And I'm wondering if that could possibly have been part of the house history. So I'm just putting it out there, and I'd like to see where this goes.
And I'm thinking something very evil took place there. More than just a few people dying. Something opened those portals or gateways for that evil to be there. So something very evil took place there. Again, this is just my best guess.
Well, and that's along those same lines. That's usually one of the things that you find with um, young children and mothers that have taken their own lives and their children's lives, which would fit right into this because that seems to be usually one of their targets.
All right. So a few nights go by. Everything seems to be just fine. Nothing's happened. Everything's quiet. The baby's sleeping all night. They're finally getting rest. She said they had prayed that night when they were afraid. They had prayer. Everything was quiet, right?
Mhm.
Until Dean went to sleep. And while Dean was asleep, he has paralysis in his sleep. But this time, it's a little bit different. Dean wakes up. He can't move, but he's not afraid. He feels the cold, wet hair on his face and on his back, and he can feel the wind on his ear like a woman's lips are close to his ear, he says, like she's breathing lightly. And she starts saying something into his ear over and over. Whatever this creature is, it whispered into his ear, "You have to get rid of Amy. She is trying to steal our life away from us and our baby. She has to go." Over and over. And he said, I was finally able to speak. And I said, Amy's not going nowhere. And she said, either you get rid of her or I will my way. And he woke up. Water was in the floor again. Nothing's in the room.
Hmm.
So the
This
next
sounds
day,
like a movie. If you watch if you watch horror movies, you'll see those demons. They aggravate, and they just slowly, when the family first moves in, they start very mildly, like the shower thing, and then it escalates and escalates, and just like we're seeing here. What they're showing us in Hollywood, to a point, is the truth
Yeah.
that they
They're
hide. They hide the truth. Classification, fiction.
they're getting those
Hmm.
stories from somewhere.
Exactly. And this case sounds similar, where you see the demon. They'll pick one person, they'll start on them, and then they'll
Yep.
start working around the family. It's it's just wash and repeat,
Yep.
rinse and repeat. The same MO, nothing new under the sun.
so the next day, Dean decides, I'm not going to work. He gets up, gets ready, leaves like he's going to work, doesn't say anything to the family, and he drives to the courthouse. And he pulls the records on the property to try to find out what the history is. Because now Dean is starting to wake up and realizing there's something going on here that is not normal. While he's
Yeah.
looking through, go ahead.
How long has this been now since the first thing? How long have they been in the house at this point? Did they say?
The whole time,
Well, up to the point
like,
where he actually went, like, started to believe and realize that something was going on. So the point when he went to the courthouse.
like it was about, let's see, she said 4 months.
Oh, okay. So still, that's still fairly long time, but okay, go on.
So he goes to the courthouse and he starts pulling records trying to find out what is the history behind this house. So as he's looking through it, he finds where it used to be an old school, and this old school was back a long, long time ago. And he finds out that the school burned, and when the school burned, they decided not to rebuild it. But what was on that property with the schoolhouse, that schoolhouse actually, when it burned, it did not burn to the ground, okay? It burnt, but it was not destroyed. And he's wondering, why was it never reopened, because it was fixed because they're living in it. So somebody came and fixed it back. So why wasn't it reopened? And whenever he's digging into the history of it, he finds out the reason it's not reopened is because in that town they went and built a new church to have school and church in. Did
Okay.
anybody did anybody just catch that?
Yeah, possibly somebody burned down the old church so they could invest or get the money to build them a new one.
Nope.
Insurance fraud, if they had insurance back then, perhaps.
Nope. They're not living in an old house, guys. They're living in an old church.
Mm.
So he goes through the paperwork of this old church and he finds the pastor of this church. And he decides to go pay him a visit because he's still alive. He's retired. He's an older man in his 70s, but he's still alive. So surely he has some answers to this old house or this old church, as we just now found out. It's an old church. So he goes to the pastor's house, knocks on the door. He says, this old, very nice Very welcoming man opens the door. And he's like, "Do you have time to answer some questions? Because I'm living in this house and I think you may have information on it. My family's living in pure hell. We are living in hell. We need help." And he said he was like, "Sure, come in, come in, come in, come in." He goes in, he said, the preacher's wife goes and makes him some tea or whatever, and some there's like snacks and cookies, and they're talking. And he's telling the preacher like a lot of this stuff that's going on. And he said he's sitting there and he's like really, really involved in to what I'm saying. And the preacher's like, "Can you take me to your house?" And he said, I was like, "Sure, I can take you out there, if you need to see it." So he takes the preacher out there, and he said the preacher's walking around inside of the home. He's looking around and looking in the bedrooms and stuff. And the preacher asked him, he said, "So you have a baby monitor in here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I have the DVR that records what goes on in there? Have you all been looking at that?" And Dean's like, "No, we haven't even looked at it. We just put it in there to watch him." And he's like, "Can I take that home with me?" And Dean was like, "Yeah, you can take it, look at it, whatever. We don't have nothing to hide. So the preacher takes the DVR and he leaves. Amy gets so mad. She grabs the spaghetti off of the stove and throws it, he says, across the kitchen, exhibiting behavior she's never exhibited. And he's like, "Why are you so angry? What is wrong with you? We're getting answers." And she's like, "Now the preacher's going to know that I went in there and yelled at our child. Why would you give him that video?" And he said, I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I'd forgot about that." And he said, "I understood why she'd be mad because gossip and people talking." And he's like, "Are we going to be in trouble?" Because she, was pretty violent yelling. He said she wasn't nice, but he says, "I don't think we have anything to worry about." A couple of days later, the phone rings and it's the preacher, and he says, "Can I meet with you guys?" And we're like, "Sure." They say, "Why don't you come over to our house?" He says, "It wouldn't be safe for me to come to your house." And they're like, "Why would it not be safe for you to come to our house?" He said, "You'll understand when you talk to me." So they all go over to his house. He's got the TV on, he's got the DVR plugged up to the TV, and he starts playing the DVR. And you can watch from the first night, from when they bought it, through the nights. Gary getting rocked to sleep, Gary sleeping, nothing's going on until the night she screamed at Gary. Every time she was putting Gary down and leaving, a woman was in his bedroom, and she would walk over, grab his legs, and violently pull him across the bed and leave. The last part, the woman on the video was looking through the side of his bed at the baby, making faces at him, like scary faces and stuff, making him cry. Very evil shit, man. Stuff that bothers me to even think about. So the preacher says, "You got to get rid of this." He deletes all the footage because he says having that gives it place and power in your home. And then the preacher, here's the part, guys, that really going to get you. The preacher turns and looks at the family and says, "I know who it is. That's Sally."
Wait, so he went from giving it place to actually giving it a name now.
No, no, no. He knew. He knows who this is. Like he knows who this entity is. He knows her. Knew her. I should say knew her.
Okay.
He knew her.
Okay.
Like he's like, I know her. I know who she is. I know her.
Okay. Um, the Lost City wanted to know if you could give a region in Oklahoma where this was happening.
Miami, Miami area.
Okay.
I don't want to give the exact address because people
Well,
don't like
yeah,
that.
of
But yeah,
course.
it's Miami, Oklahoma area. Uh, so um, he's like, I know her, and they're like, what? You know who it is? He's like, no, I know her. I knew her. She was part of our church.
Okay.
And they're like, what is going on? They're like, what? We don't understand.
So who was she?
He breaks out the Bible. She was an 18-year-old girl that was brought to church by her mom and dad that thought she was possessed. This preacher that they're talking to performed an exorcism on her. And whenever he done it, they baptized her and she died during the baptism.
Okay.
The tank
In
that's
that church?
in that church, in that house, and where the baptism was done was where their bathroom is now, where all the water tracks always went to. That's where the tank was at, where they done the baptisms.
That's absolutely just scary. That's some scary crap, dude, Mike. I mean,
And sad, because that means that
uh,
she was possessed to the point where there was no salvation for her, and they are now using her as their tool to bring down more people.
So the preacher asks him, well, first he tells him that she died during the baptism and they ruled that she died by drowning, which makes you go back and you look at what was written on the mirror. Water can't save you. There's water
that,
everywhere. The wet hair. I
and
mean,
I think she's also mentioned that because of the baptism. They were trying to save her with the baptism, and I
right.
think that's enough with that message meant.
Was
It,
this a baptism that does the full body baptisms?
Yes, it was a large tank that you would walk down into.
Okay.
So now he asks them, do you plan on staying in that home? They decide they're going to demolish the home and build a new home on the same property, but not in the same place. The preacher went to the home without the family there and done a cleansing, he said, and removed the demon. And he told them what they need to understand if they're bothered by her, that what they're seeing is not actually Sally, but a demon that has taken her form, that is using her from the pain and suffering that she went through to torment others, and that they
Mhm.
need to not go, need to not live there until it's totally cleansed. The preacher went to the home with three other pastors that he knows that they have done exorcisms all over. They exorcised the house, rebuked the house, cleansed the house, and they even went to her grave and blessed it in case the entity was hanging around there. And since they have given me this report, she said it has now been approximately 8 weeks. They are in that same home, whole different atmosphere. They're at peace, more in love than ever, and nothing is happening. And they're going to church every day.
So they have not demolished the home?
They're living in it. They're
Okay.
restoring it. They decided to restore it because they were given confidence by the preachers that the house was cleansed, and as long as they walked in faith and kept their armor on, that they were safe. And she said it is the most beautiful feeling in the world there now. She said, I'll stay there all night by myself. It's a whole different feeling. Gary's happy. He's learned to walk. She said everything is great.
Hmm.
And now you know the rest of the story. Wow, amazing.
And tomorrow night on our live, just so everybody knows, I've got another one that I fielded today that I talked to Jesse about, and we'll be discussing it tomorrow night on a live at 7:30 p.m. So join us tomorrow night, guys. We've got another one. But
And in so distant future, boots on the ground. We'll be back soon, guys.
yep,
Yay!
Boots on the Ground is coming back. It will be back within just a few days, guys. We should be back to the Boots on the Ground. Um, that taking that report, guys, blew my mind. Um, I mean, I've got you can see here. I'll show you. Ugh. I've got 4 pages of the notes that I took from her today, and the one that we're going to be discussing tomorrow, guys. I'm just going to tell you, it's dark as hell. So if this one bothered you, you probably don't want to listen to tomorrow's. There's a lot of things going on in our world right now we don't understand, and a lot of things out there that we should not be messing with. Because when people started calling me and telling me these things, because the first encounter we done, my email has blew up now with people sharing what they're going through. I have a gentleman possibly going to be coming on the show that has actually had a werewolf encounter that's going to come on and talk to us about it. He has never given an interview. This will be his first and only interview. And he wants to remain anonymous because of what he went through. But he is willing to come on the show and tell us for the first time. We got a lot of good things planned, guys, a lot of good things on the way. And it's going to be a lot of content you're not going to want to miss. So make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube is good at unsubscribing people. Make sure you have the bell rung all selected so you don't miss any of our uploads. I will also be placing this on Spotify tonight after the show for anybody that wishes to listen to it, or if you got friends that would rather hear it on Spotify, it'll be on our Spotify tonight after the show. Uh, like what Mr. Petticourt said, Boots on the Ground will be happening very soon. That issue has been took care of. Josh should be Boots on the Ground with me. And I would like to invite everybody that loves our show, that loves hanging out with us, it is family. Come and join us on Wide Open Adventures and hang out with us over there for some great adventures that's coming. I believe Randy's got the link. He can put it in the chat. We'd love to have you all over there and join us on Wide Open Adventures. But let's give a closing synopsis of this story tonight, Jesse. I'll let you start and what you thought and what your future thoughts are on what you think is going to happen.
Well, I truly hope that they were able to succeed at cleansing that home and clearing everything out. And it sounds like, from what they've said, it is. It feels different to them. So hopefully it'll remain that way. Big thing is yeah, again, don't, um, it goes along the lines of not just making excuses for things. I mean, yeah, try to think rationally, but don't over rationalize things to the extent that you're making absurd reasonings for things that are going on that couldn't possibly necessarily be the case. And it goes along the lines with listening to your kids too. I mean, I know that wasn't really part of the story, but that's a huge thing, is listen to your children if they're even having experiences too. A lot of people tend to brush them off. But Um, yeah, I hear more and more stories like this where, unfortunately, due to death and, I mean, whether it be death, murder, or possession, these things don't just necessarily leave, and they're attached to land or property or something that is leaving them there. And it's unfortunate that an innocent family had to be tormented that way, but I pray that they continue to have nothing but good things and blessings for them from here on out.
From
That's it.
beginning to conclusion, from beginning to conclusion, it looked like something that we've seen before from the Hollywood horror movies. I'm just really happy that it had a good ending. I really am. I'm glad it worked out to where the family's not being terrorized and the child's going to grow up hopefully not knowing any of that happened. And that's my conclusion.
Turn my mic on. Y'all can hear me now, right?
Yes,
Mm.
Yeah, I agree with Randy. When it first started taking that report, my concern was something had happened to the child, or that this story was going to revolve around the child. And I was hoping that, that was not the case. Thank God. Can't say it didn't happen to the child, but the child I don't think was what the entity was mostly uh, concerned with, and which is weird to me because we all know most entities, demons, they do like the children, the innocent blood the most. So it is weird to me that the child was not what it mainly went after. It almost feels to me like this demon was more concentrated on Amy. She was the one that was violently attacked, except for the time that the fingernails got dug into her husband's side. She had sleep paralysis, which resulted in physical harm. He had sleep paralysis, which did not involve any kind of harm, but instead he was given a message. Um, you look at the bathroom. He never had any encounters in the shower. She had the encounters in the shower. It's like it was following her. It left her the message in the shower telling her that water could not save her. So for some reason, whatever this was in there, I feel like was fixated on Amy. And the other two, it seemed like it was maybe okay with. And the reason I say that it was maybe okay with them is because it was telling him that she was the one in the way, that she needed to go. They were never, or he was never told that he needed to go. The child needed to go. The child, in fact, except for in the bedroom where it was being jerked around and made to cry, which I believe was only to get at Amy. I don't believe that was directed solely at the child, but I believe that demon would have been perfectly fine if Dean and the child would have been the ones to remain living there, and it could have caused enough conflict in the home that Dean and Amy did not survive their marriage. I think that was the goal of this demon, was to separate them, to have the child and Dean to itself. Now, what it would have done after Amy was gone, we can only speculate, but I'm sure it wouldn't be good because there's no good in them. And we do know demons attack children. I know that firsthand, 110%. That's what they do. Evil ass bastards will attack children. That's what they do. And it's because they're the innocent blood. They don't have their own say, and they're at the mercy of what adult decisions are. And these creatures are evil. Some of them arrive in spirit, and there is some of them out there right now, guys, in flesh and blood, just as real as you and I, that are just
Hmm.
as evil. And we have to be careful who we entertain, what we entertain, and we have to make sure that we test all spirits.
Yep.
That would be
I agree.
what I would think and suggest. And as far as moving back into the home, wow, I think that as a Christian myself, and if they have the faith and the power of the Lord has power, then I don't believe they'll ever have another problem. Um, I do believe that if they don't keep to the straight and narrow path and keep their faith, and it could be really bad there again, and maybe 10 times worse than what they first went through. Um, I think Sally could come back with some friends. So I think they need to be aware of that. That's what I would that's what I would think. Is that your understanding, Randy? If you don't keep them away, they always come back stronger and with more, right?
Correct. You don't keep
Yeah.
your guards up and stay in faith, that demon will get seven stronger demons than him and revisit you.
Well, I have a
Right.
little bit different opinion on that, but I mean, for the most part, yes, depending on, but I think that they will probably, if they will probably be okay, most likely be okay.
I think scripturally, if they stay in the faith, stay in the word,
Yes. Yes.
they'll be fine. I know that, Randy, you'll have to help me a little bit with this one. Not quoting directly from the Bible, but the Bible does mention that, and this is my interpretation, exorcisms are not good for everybody, because if you perform an exorcism on somebody that does not want one, then that demon returns with sevenfold, like you said. So you have to be a willing participant and ready to keep what is exorcised from you away, because if you don't, the second time can be a lot worse.
Correct. But that's possession of a person, and demons aren't, yes, they can be attached to land or property or areas, but there's so many other accounts too where people have had situations where things have taken possession of their home and have caused chaos like this. And after dealing with it on a spiritual level, they may even move, and other people might that move into the homes have no issues and never knew anything of the past history, and they might not even be of faith. So if they weren't and that was the case, would these demons not come back into the home and the property?
I think you kind of answered the question whenever you said that people that are not of the faith don't have any problems. Um, the devil has no reason to bother people that he already has. It's the people that are of the faith that are weak are the ones that he wants to capture.
Okay, wait.
There's an old, there's an old saying about, the church house when the devil was sitting on the steps and they were walking up, and this guy said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Satan." And he said, "Well, how come you're not inside?" And he said, "I already have them. I'm trying to keep the new Christians from coming here." It's the hypocrites. We don't go to Jesus to get clean, because we're clean. We go to Jesus to get cleaned.
Hmm.
Randy's got that look.
No, you. I mean, I, you both covered it quite well. I mean, well, you did. I don't have any input at this time.
I just hope that they continue to live the right path,
Yes.
and that Gary remains safe. They remain safe, and they're supposed to update me. If y'all would like me to do an update show, leave a number one, and I do have her phone number. I can call her in a couple of months or whatever, and we can do an update show if everybody'd like to know how everything's going with them. I'm just going to out and out say this. I hope that we do get to update them, but I hope that we don't do a show on them, because I hope that when
I
I talk
agree.
to her, everything is good and there's no reason to do a show, but for me just to give, a good vibe. Now, tomorrow night, that's a different show. Tomorrow night, these people are having some issues with something inside of their home. And yeah, it's going to be a trip down the rabbit hole on this one tomorrow night at 7:30. So don't miss that. Um, it's going to be a person that we're all familiar with, I believe. And I'll give you all a hint. He does wear a hat. So it should be a pretty good one. And it's not Randy.
Uh,
But yeah, it's I took half of the report today. I'll get half tomorrow before we do the show. And man, it had the hairs on my arm. Guys, I'm telling you, doing these different kinds of shows like this to where we're breaking them down and doing actual investigations, I kind of feel like I'm back at work because I'm actually having to take notes. I'm having to arrange them. I'm having to prepare it. I'm having to, you know, present it to you guys. And I feel like I'm kind of working again because I'm asking like a million questions to these people. And I mean, I've got notes on everything and on my iPad, and it takes a lot more time than it does just opening an email and telling a story. And I do enjoy these more, and I hope you all enjoy these more, the interactions and the breaking them down. I enjoy it, I think, more doing these. What are your all's thoughts? What do you think? Do you like the way the show's going this way? Do you like the way we're doing it now compared to the other way we was doing it?
I enjoy doing these.
Also in chat too, let us know your opinions, guys. You're as much as part of this show as us. We'd love to hear your and see your opinions.
I'm liking it
What do you
too.
think?
So just thumbs
You
up.
like that,
Yes,
Randy? How we're doing it? It's a lot more work, but I
oh,
think it's more
I do have
gratifying.
something I need you to change. I don't know if
Uh-huh.
anybody else that startup music. I like the old when it would be counting down. I like the old. I don't know about the new music. That was just didn't seem like that normal investigation. The countdown
On
music.
the countdown,
Yeah, I like
you
the
know,
old countdown.
actually, the
Better.
countdown I use is StreamYards. But what I'll do, Randy,
Uh,
just for you, I will make our own countdown. We will have our very own, and I'll try to have that done by tomorrow night.
that'd be nice.
Um, guys in chat, if you want us to continue to do it this way, if you want me to keep doing breakdowns, investigations like this, I can go to places that are close to me right now and I can start investigating like I used to. I can start presenting cases to you, case files, and we can start doing some of that if you want to. I do have connections to where I can get files that not everybody can get. And we'll be limited on what we can go into, but we'll be able to get more than everybody else. And don't forget, our Patreon shows are going to be only be on Patreon for a reason because I could not release those. I was thinking about that the other night. I rewatched our Patreon. I was like, there's no way that could ever be
No,
released.
no.
And at, what day is it this month? Where we got a day planned? I don't have my
The
calendar.
27th, I think you said it was.
I think the
1 second.
27th we're doing a Patreon recording again. It'll be a Patreon only video, and it's going to drop March 1st. March 1st is when it will drop. Randy, for I don't think Randy even knew the drop date. It'll be
You mean you
March
mean April?
1st.
You mean April?
Yeah, April. Yeah, gosh, April 1st. It'll drop. Uh, Randy, do you have the Patreon link you can throw up for everybody in case they want to watch our
no, I
Patreon
do not.
videos only? Okay, I'll need to
No,
get
I
that
do
to
not.
you.
It got
Okay,
corrupted on me. It doesn't anymore.
all right.
You
Anybody
have to
wanting
make
to
me.
find our Okay, I'll send you one. Anybody wanting to find the Patreon, just go to one of our videos and look in the description. And I usually have the Patreon link in the description of our regular videos that we release, so you can find it there if you're looking for it. Well, Jess, if you want, you start walking us out of here. That's all I got on that one, guys. And as always, prayers to that family for sure that everything continues to go good.
Yep. So as always, thank you everyone for being here tonight. So glad everybody that was able to join us for this. we wouldn't be here if you weren't here with us. So appreciate you. God bless. I hope everyone stays healthy and safe and have a great rest of the weekend. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow. Randy.
Well, good evening, everybody. We appreciate you showing up and supporting the Abnormal Investigation channel. Just remember, everything upon this earth is about to shake. The truth will come to the light in 2025. I just have this feeling that there's a lot of things that we're going to hear about that's going to be horrific and exciting about this world that we live in. So just buckle up and get ready. We're in for one hell of a ride. The Abnormal Investigation channel, shining a light into the darkness, revealing the truth about the real world we live in. Good night, and God bless.
And I want to thank everybody also for showing up, supporting us. Without you guys, there wouldn't be no show. Um, and another, just some good news for everybody is we are growing right now. The channel is expanding, not just Abnormal, but our Spotify, Patreon, even our store is selling a lot of merchandise. So Abnormal Investigations is on the rise right now. We're actually rising now, probably faster than we have at any time. I've been, God, approving people for the last 4 days. God has blessed us. We are on the rise, and I think we're on the right track. And as always, you guys are the foundation. You guys are what we build on, because without you guys, there would be no reason in doing this. We got the 8th coming up. Don't forget, will be our next live. But the first one before that, guys, on the 2nd, it's going to be OCST joining us. We're going to be talking about the Oklahoma Bigfoot War. You're not going to want to miss that one with OCST. That guy has a lot of knowledge, a lot of encounters, and he's a very nice guy. We look very forward to having him on the show the 2nd. And don't forget, join us tomorrow night at 7:30, guys. We're going to have another breakdown. I think y'all are going to really enjoy it. And as always, I love you, Hunter, more than anything in the world. And I want you to know that you're on my mind day and night, every second of every minute. I'm sorry that you're having to go through this. But as Randy said, the light is fixing to be shown this year, and the true evil will be brought out. And I promise you, I will not be the one in the spotlight for much longer as being this alleged bad guy, because I'm not the bad guy. And I'm going to leave it at that. And with saying that to everybody, we would appreciate all the purple hearts in chat for Hunter. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. And until next time, don't be something's dinner.
Good night.
Good night.